Loss is something that everyone will experience at least once, whether it be the loss of ambition, hope, or a loved one. It comes in many shapes and is a guarantee for all of us. How we cope and learn from loss is often a big factor in how we grow as people. Some of us accept the pain, learning from the lessons that it provides and becoming overall stronger. Others slink away and hide to escape their feelings, and others are broken by it. It's tragic, somber, but it is an uncomfortable truth. However, one way of coping with life's difficulties is through fiction. We write and watch stories that resonate with us because of their similarities to our own experience. And this can come in the form of fictional characters going through their own form of loss. The way these people react and either move forward or back are often very fascinating and mirror our own thoughts. After all, the best ones are written by people who know those feelings or know others who have. Now, despite Gurren Lagann's happy tone and uplifting theme, it's not without its sadder moments. And a few characters are at the center of these tragedies. One of them is Yoko Littner. Everyone has their own way of dealing with tragedy, and I personally find Yoko's to be quite interesting. So let's look at everyone's favorite red-haired sniper, and discuss coping strategies. Yoko's relationship with Kamina is easily one of the saddest parts of the series, at least in my opinion. Their conversations are personally some of my favorite parts of the show, as Yoko tries wrapping her head around Kamina's words and actions. Considering she's likely spent a good chunk of her life fighting on the surface, Kamina is an enigma to her. He's upbeat and proud, seemingly prideful to a fault, with plans that ride the line of genius and insanity. They feud at first, but slowly grow closer and closer, culminating in their first, and sadly final kiss. It's a relationship that never got to blossom, and Kamina's death hits her and Simone the hardest. Yes, the rest of the group is definitely affected by it, but besides Liron, she and Simone knew Kamina the longest and the best. What's interesting is how opposite their reactions are. Simone lashes out. He yells and fights and is difficult to work with. Kamina's death breaks his spirit, and it's very noticeable. Yoko's reactions are more subtle. Rather than blowing up, she seems to bottle things in. In public, Yoko does her best to keep her composure. Much like everyone else, she's still feeling the effects, and it's clearly weighing on her. The fake smile she wears as she attempts to trudge forward is very telling. But when she's alone, she lets it out. Her sorrows and pains are muttered in secrecy. She remarks to Dayaka that they've lost their fair share of people in the past. It's been a war, after all. Death is to be expected. Normally, someone like her would be used to this. But because she allowed herself to get so close to him, to love him, it hurts all the more. It's a pain she's familiar with, but amplified. So one could say, because of her experience, she's able to handle the pain of it a lot better. I also think because of Simone's rash actions and Kitan's less than leaderly nature, she's mentally preparing to take charge if need be. After all, neither of them seem fit to be the leader of Team Daiguren. Even if this isn't the case, she still feels the need to put on a brave face. This also coincides with how a lot of women in our real world will also assume a brave face during difficult situations due to rampant misogyny and societal expectations. She learned from Kamina that impressions are important in a successful rebellion. Everyone's morale is low, so she's doing what she can to make things better, by appearing to power through it. Of course, that doesn't make it hurt less. And seeing Simone break down didn't make things better. I think Yoko chose not to intervene because she knew her words wouldn't mean much to him, but also because she wasn't doing much better herself. The small moments where Yoko is able to let things out aren't enough. She's slowly letting gas out of a boiling pot, but that gas is still building up. This is why she's so quick to blow up at Nia. One, that pain is still there and hasn't been fully vented. And 2, Nia is an outsider to Yoko, someone she doesn't need to keep an image for because she doesn't like or trust Nia like she does everyone else. Coping mechanisms while dealing with pain are important, as they can dictate how well and how quickly a person can adjust themselves. Yoko's method is certainly more effective than others, but it still leaves room for that pain to build up. Sometimes it might not be easy to manage, and there might not be an easy situation to let it out, so it can bubble and boil over time. Luckily, in Yoko's case, morale for the entire group picks up as Simone's mentality starts to recover thanks to Nia's influence. Because of this, Yoko is better able to adjust herself and accept reality, admitting to Simone that she had a thing for Kamina. The pain was still there. It wouldn't go away. But she could manage it better. Once the time skip came by, it was revealed that Yoko went her separate ways from everyone else. Where she went was a mystery until episode 21, where it was shown that she was a teacher under the guise of Miss Yomiko. She was making a whole new life for herself. Her life as a warrior was one of the only ones she knew, plagued with grief and suffering. Though it had its triumphs, it was time to move on, to grow as a person and help others grow as well. I've heard some people complain that Yoko becomes a teacher, because it feels like a stock role for a female character, but I think it works in her case. She wants to give the next generation a more privileged and happy life than she had, to take the hard lessons she learned during war and turn them into useful teachings for the classroom. In this episode, we see how Yoko is matured and evolved, simmering down her more hot-headed tendencies and growing very protective and motherly. It's because of this protective nature that she can return to her past as a warrior when danger strikes. It also gives a glimpse at her mindset, particularly her talk with Nakim. Her student is going through a loss like she had with Kamina, and she takes it upon herself to guide the troubled youth, using advice that comes from a lesson she had to learn on her own. While it is true that Simone's speech did help improve morale during her low period, it only made things easier rather than simply curing everybody. She still had to come to terms with Kamina's death on her own, learning how to remember Kamina and to love him, while not keeping herself down at the same time. That may sound easy, but it's not. The mind is something that often needs time to heal, just like the body. And just like the body, everyone's mind heals differently. Some days are easier than others. Some people heal by themselves, others heal with people. Yoko, in a way, needed both. She needed Simone's push to move her forward, and she needed to continue walking after that push. And she takes that lesson into account when she hears of Nakim's troubles. Few people know his pain better than her, so she knows what to say and how to say it. I think this scene shows how far she's come since Kamina's death. Once stricken with grief and sorrow, she's now come to grips with it. She'll always remember Kamina and keep him close to her heart, but she can move forward as he would have wanted. Once she faced the man she loved, she smiled. Yoko couldn't change the past, but that's okay. Sometimes you need to keep living for your sake, like the person left behind would have wanted. She's still smiling through that pain, but there's also hope behind those eyes. Hope for a better tomorrow. Once as a freedom fighter, now as a teacher, Yoko can make that tomorrow into today. I think that's a beautiful lesson to think about. After all, reality is often what we make of it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also make sure to click the bell so that way you're notified for future videos. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next time.